Hey, what is going on, Virgos? Butch Tarot here. I am going to do your September read. This is for the month. It is a general read, so it may not resonate with everyone. It is for your Sun, Moon, Rising, and your Venus. For all you cross watchers, roles can be reversed. Always feel free to comment down below. Happy birthday to all my Virgos. We're in Virgo season now. And all those that had a birthday or have a birthday coming up, I hope you have the best birthday you've had yet. I am going to pull an oracle card first to begin this read from the Bone and Earth. I always say it wrong. Earth and Bone Oracle. I don't know why I have to, it's like I'm dyslexic or something. I read backwards. Anyway, universe, what message do we have for Virgos? Let's get a card for Virgos. The Stand. Courage, determination, fearlessness. Now, so I ordered this deck not knowing it was going to come this small. It's really tiny, and that's the only negative thing I can say about it. For me, some people would like that. I got big hands, so oh, look at that. Isn't that the cutest thing ever? Little skulls. And it's called the Pink Gothic Tarot. Absolutely love the artwork on it. I wish I could find a bigger size. I've tried everywhere. If you know anything, put in the comments where I can find a bigger size, because I'd love to use it more. It's just really hard to shuffle. But anyway, with all that being said, let's get it. Universe, what message do we have for Virgos for September 2025? What do we have for Virgos? All right, Virgos. Yeah, so little. Anyway, so the first thing that I'm seeing is I feel like there's a connection around you now. I do feel like it's a new energy. So for some of you, this may be someone you just met or someone coming in. Like I said, this is a September read for the month of September, but it's definitely a new energy. You know, and with this, I feel like there's a strong connection with you and this person, like very quickly. You know, it's a very spontaneous energy. Like I feel like it was kind of a random meeting that turned into something special. You know, we have the Knight of Wands, which is that spontaneous energy. Then we have the Page of Wands, so it's there's definitely some potential. You're definitely seeing potential in this person very early on. I feel like this person, what I see with them is, I definitely feel like this person, we have the King of Pentacles, that Taurus energy. I definitely feel like with this person, they're more of a do things for you rather than say nice things. Putting in work rather than, some people are charmers with their words, and some people show up. Some people do nice things, acts of services, that type of energy with this person. I feel like this is the type of person that is very, they show up. And I feel like with this person, very early on, we have the King of Cups. So what this tells me about this person is they're looking for something real. They're looking for a deep connection. They desire it. So what that tells me is this is not just someone looking to get you goodies. This is not someone looking for the next ex. They're looking for a good time, but they're looking for someone for a long time. I feel like they have that deep desire, and I feel like that's something you see potential in. Someone that isn't afraid to show up, isn't afraid to put in the work. Now with this person, we're going to talk about you for a minute here, because I do feel like early on with this person, like I said, you see potential. And I feel like trust, finding it easy to trust this person, establishing trust with them. Sometimes that can be the hardest thing in any kind of new relationship, is establishing that trust. But with this person, it doesn't seem like you have to work that hard at it. And the Two of Wands, I feel like it becomes more and more clear what you want from this person. Like I said, seeing real potential in this, seeing like this could be the one. And I feel like your intuition is not changing that story whatsoever. I feel like your intuition is telling you there's something special with this person. Well, I feel like not necessarily convinced, afraid of being vulnerable. That's, from all the Virgos I know, that's one thing they don't like doing. They don't like to be vulnerable too easy or too quickly. Establishing trust is important for Virgos. So we have the Three of Swords. So it is that fear of putting yourself out there. And I feel like that does play a part in this. With the Nine of Swords, it's that late nights, not being able to sleep. Sometimes we think that we're going to meet the right person. It's just going to all fall into place and everything's going to be hunky-dory. And we're just going to ride off into the sunset in love. Now, it doesn't always happen that way. And like I said, with this, you start finding new stability with this person. You see a future, a very strong possibility of a future. You see yourself moving forward with this person. With that Chariot, that Cancer energy. Now, here's where things get a little sticky. I feel like because all these things are falling into place and all these things seem so perfect, we have Temperance. And a lot of you, like that Sagittarius energy, a lot of you know Temperance is about balance, finding balance. But also, in this reading, I get the more of a sense of testing their mettle. Almost like you feel like you're going to test this person to see if they really are who you think they are. And I don't mean that in a malicious way. I don't mean that in a toxic way. I just mean like, see what they're made of. I feel like that's coming up, because like I said, this is the potential to be the one. So we're not just going to walk into it, not knowing, and I feel like it's because of that fear, of being vulnerable too early. like I said, I feel like this person's really getting to you in a good way. And it's almost like you gotta know. But I see this person passing all those tests. Any tests you put before this person, anytime, you feel like it, what I mean by that is like you're testing this person, seeing what they're made of, seeing what they're really all about. And every time you test this person, I see them passing with flying colors. And what this does, it just seals, it makes this connection even more viable. It just kind of seals the deal. We got that Lovers, that Gemini energy. We got the Two of Cups. This is real. You know what I mean? I feel like this person keeps passing your test with flying colors. I feel like you make a great connection, great partnership with this person. It's not only what, like I said, we have the Knight of Wands, we have that a little bit of flirtatious energy, but I feel like it's very nonchalant flirting. Like you could miss it if you weren't looking for it kind of thing, because I don't feel like this person's that type of person. I don't feel like they find it easy to flirt or to, the very subtle flirting. And I feel like they just suit you. It's not overly aggressive. Like I said, every time we see something new about this person, it's just something more that we like. I mean, this person, like I said, they showed up to put the work in. They're here to build something. Like I said, that power couple type energy with that Three of Pentacles. Also, the very nurturing energy with that Queen of Cups. And then the Eight of Pentacles showing up, putting in the work. They're showing up. They're here. They're in it to win it. And winning is being with you, being next to you. Having this connection and growing it, nurturing it. I mean, we also have the Star card with that Aquarius energy. We have the Ten of Cups. That's the Ten of Cups kind of feels like home to me. When I see it, it feels like you're exactly where you're meant to be. That feeling, when you're home? Like when I was young, I remember having my own apartment. I never really felt at home. And I go back to my mom's to visit. And every time I walk in the door, I felt like home. Like my bedroom was still there the same way I left it. It took a long time for me to actually find my own home. And I never found that until I had my partner and we started having kids. And that's when it started to feel like that. That's when the alternation of my mom's home being my home to be my home being my home. And especially when you're renting, it's hard to make it your home because you can, get kicked out or they could sell it or whatever. Not important. Like I said, the more trials and testing their mettle you do with this person, they just keep passing. And it just exposes this connection to be deeper and deeper than you even thought. I see you getting a lot more than you expected from this person. And the right one will always pass the test. I really don't have any... I mean, some people may think of that as negative energy. I don't at all. I think if you're going to spend, you're potentially finding someone you're going to spend the rest of your life with, it's okay to test them, as long as it's testing within reason. I mean, there's some cases, obviously, it's gone too far, but anyway, we'll get more into that in a minute. Yeah. I mean, passing your test with flying colors. I see so much forward movement with this. I see a lot of happiness. And like I said, I see the more and more this moves on, the more and more potential the potential shows, the more potential you see in it. Like I said, trust is important, and I feel like trust is being gained. With this person, we have Aries, Sagittarius, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. We have Cancer and Pisces. Taurus and Virgo. You know, it's a big jump. And, to really commit to someone and not know. And like I said, I mean, the real ones will pass the test. The real ones, they will still be there. But like I said, testing someone, I mean, it's a fine line. I feel like it's okay as long as you're doing it at good intentions. But, there's other people out there that take it too far, like sending one of your friends over to hit on a person just to see if, while you're with them, to see if they have that in them. I feel like that may be flirting with the line a bit. I dated a girl once and she did that to me. And obviously I didn't fall for it. But I was it was a little annoying. Because I wholeheartedly felt like I knew for sure that this was a test. But like I said, some tests can be as little as, asking someone to show, be somewhere for you. And it's not really a test. It's not, I don't know if I like using that word test because it sounds like you're, but it's like if you say to someone, hey, next week I really have this important thing, but my car is broke down, or, I need someone to take me. Can you take me? And it's at 8:00 and they say yes. Well, if they show up at 7:50 to pick you up and they're supposed to pick you up at 8, they pass the test. If they don't show up till 8:30 or call you at 8:30 and say, hey, I can't make it, I mean, kind of doesn't seem like they're that reliable, and it doesn't really seem like they put you out there, and that's the thing when you're with someone. For all you cross watchers, if you're with a Virgo and they're giving you their time, that's a great sign. Virgos tend to not, how do I say this without insulting? Virgos can be very closed off until they're not. And when they're not, they're very open. And what I mean by that is when you get on the good side of a Virgo, when they start showing you affection, that's a great sign. Because I feel like with Virgos, especially, I mean, this is from my experience of Virgos, the Virgos that I know. It's hard, they don't always show affection, and it takes longer for a Virgo to really give in compared to some other people, or to give to something. Virgos will give to anybody. I mean, that's one thing about them. But when they're giving you something like affection, you're doing something right. Virgos are very caring people, and they'll show up for people. But when they start showing you affection, that's when you've crossed over into, you're getting into their heart space. That's the one thing. My aunt, she's a Virgo, and she will, she does charity work. She, is very, very giving. She'll give you the shirt off her back. But when it comes to romantic life, my aunt was very picky. You know, my aunt is not. She doesn't date a lot. You know, she had. Unfortunately, she had found a man, and they got married, and they had a child, and he ended up passing away. And you know, she said that she never found anybody that really added up to him again. So she just didn't bother looking, and that's kind of her mentality. You know, the way I look at it is I feel like when Virgos love, they love hard. You know, so very, very particular who they love hard with. Anyway, that's just my experience. It doesn't mean it, you know, it may not match everybody. You know, that's just my life experiences with Virgos. My dad is a Virgo as well. And my dad is a really nice man, but it takes a lot to get in his inner circle. Like, he'll show up for his friends, you know, and that's the thing, but he keeps love and friendship, you know, and acquaintances. It's a very, my dad has very high expectations, and he wants people that are in his inner circle to be held up to that. You know, my dad has high expectations, and it doesn't mean you always have to, you know, exceed his expectations or meet his expectations. I just mean he wants the best from the people close to him. Anyway, that's what I have for you. I know a lot of, it's back to school time, so I know for me and Rose and for a lot of you out there that have children, it's summer's over, back to school. So good luck with all that, because I know it's so hard to get back in the rhythm sometimes again. I know we usually get up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock with the kids, and then in the summertime it gets a little blown out of proportion. You know, we're getting up at 8. You know, so it was hard to get it all back into order. The kids tend to sleep in a little bit more than usual. But good luck with all that. I know it's hard. Anybody with kids. But always remember, now that they're back in school, take a little bit of time out of the day. You know, even at work, you just give yourself a pat on the back. You're doing a great job. You know, don't let it overwhelm you. I know it's hard, especially for new people putting their kids into school, like, for the first time. Our oldest son, he's going to high school this year, so it was a lot. You know, I was just always afraid, and when they go into a new school, this is the first year actually all our kids are in different schools. Last year, him and his brother were in the same school. So now, and the year before that, our youngest son was in school with our daughter. So it is hard, and our daughter is still little, so it's hard, you know, letting her go to school, and I don't know, it's hard letting go. But anyway, I don't even know why I said all that. Be good. Take care. Stay safe.